Community Garden Program Coordinator for Minneapolis Parks and Rec. This is Bridal Community Garden, which is located inside a Minneapolis park. This is the Prospect Park neighborhood in Minneapolis. It's located just to the east of the University of Minnesota campus, so there's a lot of students who live over in this neighborhood. Bridal Gardens has just over 50 raised beds where people can sign up to grow their own food for the summer. It's a program run through Minneapolis Parks and Recreation, so we do a lot of active management of the garden. There are also compost bins that gardeners can use to dispose of waste from their garden, and we use that waste to make compost that people can use in their beds. We also have a small supply of shared tools that folks can use for taking care of their gardens. There's a really great water feature, unique water feature in this park. All of the buildings in this, I think it's like a 1-block radius, contribute their stormwater to a huge underground storage tank that's in the rain garden located just beside the garden. So the water flows basically through the storm sewers into the tank and is then filtered with a UV filter so that it's clean enough to use as irrigation for the garden, as well as all the boulevard gardens in this neighborhood. So it's a really unique arrangement in that all the different buildings and developers that worked over in this neighborhood to make housing for folks work collaboratively to design that system. Water from the stormwater reuse system goes through some plumbing into the building that's located in the park. Inside there's a UV filter that cleans the water, and then there are 3 different spots where gardeners can connect to use the water, all located throughout the garden, so it's really convenient for people to water their beds. Minneapolis Parks has a pretty unique way of managing like who gardens in park spaces, so it's not a first come first serve system. We have folks apply every single year because we want to be really intentional about giving priority to Minneapolis residents who don't have access to land outside of the parks and who plan to grow food. So every year people fill out a short application that kind of lets us understand like who they are and why they want to garden, and whether or not they kind of meet those basic qualifications to be given priority to have a plot. So at this garden, it's mostly people who live in apartments around, in the surrounding couple of blocks. Most people who live in this immediate neighborhood do not have their own yard, so this is kind of their only opportunity to be able to get out and enjoy gardening as a hobby and also as a way to supplement their groceries each month. The folks who garden here are a pretty big mix of experience levels. I would say there's a lot of students who come here who've never gardened before. There's students who come to garden here who maybe grew up gardening with a parent or a grandparent. And then there's also people who have like many years of experience doing gardening, so it's a pretty wide range. Occasionally we'll offer some learning opportunities, sometimes in collaboration with University of Minnesota Master Gardeners. Will come and give some talks and learning opportunities for people who have questions. And my background is in horticulture as well, and I love gardening and farming, so I'm always there to help support folks as well. We do also have a volunteer community garden lead position, so those folks kind of act as a extra support person for the garden and for park staff. Britt Howell is the lead at this garden, and she's done a lot of work helping people with their plots, and especially helping new folks, learn kind of those skills that you need to take care of a vegetable garden. Anyone who's been to this neighborhood, maybe 10 years ago knows that this community has changed a lot. There didn't used to be very many apartment buildings over here. It was mostly kind of an industrial space, and that has dramatically changed within the last 10 years. So when a new development comes up in Minneapolis, developers pay what's called a park dedication fee. And that's an extra tax basically that's collected to support new amenities coming into Minneapolis parks that will help accommodate, a new influx of community members in that neighborhood. So so many buildings were built over here that there was enough park dedication fees to actually be able to purchase a new park in this space. So that was how this park came to be. The land is owned by Minneapolis Parks and Recreation. I know for a lot of community gardeners, land stability is a huge issue and kind of a struggle. You know, lots of vacant lots that maybe have a garden on them or could have a garden on them get bought up to be developed into housing. So one great thing about this piece of land being owned by Minneapolis Parks is our mission is to provide green space for people. We don't typically sell land to be able to be sold for development. So it being owned by Minneapolis Parks provides a lot of stability for the garden here. The stormwater garden next door is not owned by the parks, it's owned by the Development Association. So it's a little bit different. We are a member of that association, but the ownership works differently. In 2018, the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board passed a policy that allowed for plot-based community gardens to be developed within our neighborhood parks. So prior to that, you know, there was still food grown on park property, but it was mostly grown by volunteers who were maybe going to donate it or used in, you know, like a recreation program where kids were learning how to garden. So in 2018, they passed that change that allowed for people to be able to grow their own food. It took many years of community engagement and community pressure to make that pivot, but it's created a really great program. We don't charge anything for our plots, so it's free to participate. We have a really intentional application process, and I think it provides really stable land access for people who are looking to grow their own food.